So happy Easter, happy spring, happy time of new life, no matter what you believe. This is the time of year where what was dead comes back to life. Perhaps that's not so obvious to Floridians, but for those who have experienced winter in the north, the land itself tells a story of death and resurrection. Regardless of religion, it's all around you. Unfortunately, there's this thing that happens when people get a hold of a story that's that powerful. I want to believe that it starts out with good intentions. Let's add some structure to this idea. Let's give it some order to help clarify. Let's make sure people can have confidence in the message we're sharing, something they can hold on to, something firm. Then somehow it gets to taking this story as fact, like history. But even more important than history, because your life depends on it. Believe this story or else. But here's the trick. That's actually the opposite of faith. Faith is not the same thing as being sure and holding on and having clarity or else. Faith is like this living, breathing thing. You can't see it and only sometimes can feel it. The tighter you try to grasp it, the more it sort of ekes out between your fingers. It's not unlike love. You can't really prove it, but you feel it. You describe it in metaphors because literal language is just too confining. And it's impossible to coerce someone into love or faith. It goes against the very nature of these things. So what if religion could emulate that? Not as this institution of strict guidelines and dogma and doctrine, but this living, breathing thing we can't see and can only sometimes feel. Something we can hold loosely enough that there's room for it to breathe, to grow, to walk away from if we need to. Because here's the thing. If it's not a living, breathing, growing thing, then it's a dead and dying thing. But there's good news even about that. Nature and scripture and even our life experience tells us that not all that appears to be dead stays dead. I came across a quote this week that I think really captures the Easter message. It's by a sculptor named Harriet Marsh. So in the end, every major disaster, every tiny error, every wrong turning, every fragment of discarded clay, all the blood and sweat and tears, everything has meaning. I give it meaning. I reuse, recast, reshape all that goes wrong so that in the end, nothing is wasted and nothing is without significance. And nothing ceases to be precious to me. What if we could see our life journey like this? What if we could see our faith like this? What if this is how God sees the whole thing? I'm not asking you to have hope without thought. That's just naivete. But if your thinking doesn't allow space for hope at all, then it's just cynicism. Our world right now is full of these false dichotomies. What if you don't have to choose? What if instead it can all be precious to you and none of it is wasted? Even if it was once just a discarded fragment of clay. Sometimes I wonder if it's the fear that holds us back from hope. We don't want to get hurt. We don't want our kids to get hurt, to get their hopes up. We're afraid of feeling or being seen as foolish. Well, if believing in new life, believing that new life is possible is foolish, if wanting a better world and actively working toward it is foolish, if wishing, hoping, praying, and then doing is foolish, then it's the kind of fool I choose to be. The story of Easter is one of new life, where there was once only death and destruction and hopelessness. Whether you believe the details of the story, I hope to God with all that I have that there is truth in it. That the essence of the narrative proclaimed by Scripture and in nature and in our own lives of hardship and hope is real and true. That's the kind of fool I want to be. One that sees hope in the darkness, one that sees possibility when there's despair, one that reuses, reshapes, recasts all that goes wrong, even the worst of it, that nothing is wasted, that it all has significance, and nothing ceases to be precious to me. All the truest things I know are paradoxes. This story is true, and it's not. Love is all you need, and it's not. Death is final, and it's not. May we be freed from absolutes and forced choices, and instead choose to see the good in all of it, the hope in all of it, and gain new life from all of it. Amen. So next on the agenda is to call in the sugar-crazed, excited, tiny